I want to help you do that too. This is what we're about. Now, what's special about testing, aside from that, is that no one's going to teach you how to do it. Probably no one's going to teach you how to do it. There's a few people like me going around trying to teach testing skills, but there are not very many, and your company generally doesn't send you to this sort of thing. So you're kind of on your own. And it's very easy to do testing and think you know what you're doing, and you really don't, unless you apply vigorous self-criticism to what you do and you get involved with a community of people vigorously criticizing itself. But learning testing on your own doesn't cost so much. So at least there's some kind of hope. I've heard that a lot of you are into computer science. You have computer science degrees. Well, testing ain't part of computer science. Computer science likes to think that testing is part of computer science. But if you look at a computer science journal and you look at articles about testing in there, it's like somebody treating cacti as the whole of vegetative life on the planet by looking at a desert and seeing a little cactus sticking up. What you generally see in computer science journals that talk about testing is ways of optimizing sets of test inputs using various algorithms, assuming that these laboratory conditions prevail for all possible situations. Further research is needed. And it helps a little bit, but it doesn't even scratch the surface. It doesn't even begin to deal with the actual testing problem. The actual testing problem is a jungle crossed with a marsh, crossed with some kind of weird Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft environment where you could get swallowed up at any moment. It's like Hoth, okay? It's crazy. I go into a testing problem and I have no idea what the boundaries of that testing problem are. I have to discover what they are. I've got to set a perimeter. I've got to identify my assumptions. None of this has anything to do with computer science. It has very little to do with algorithms. Now, I think knowing about computer science can help you be a fantastic tester. And I encourage you to know about computer science, but don't confuse testing with computer science. Testing is actually a social science. It deserves to be thought of as a social science. Now, I'm from a certain community. I identify the community I'm from so that you don't think I'm speaking for everybody. Lots of people think I'm full of it, okay? You should know that. Make up your own mind. But I'm part of what's called the context-driven software testing community. We adhere to these principles. Among them, there can be no such thing as a best practice. Best practice is a marketing term invented by marketing people or by consultants trying to impress and overwhelm and intimidate people who don't know what's going on. What you actually have is no best practices. What you actually have are practices that are more or less effective or more or less interesting, depending on the context. And what we need to do as testers is we need to read the context. We need to understand the problem before we talk about solutions for the problem. Just like a doctor needs to maybe examine a patient before deciding that the patient needs chemotherapy. So the context-driven community, we're a ragtag band. We're a bunch of rebels. We're trying to think about testing in terms of dynamics, problems and solution patterns, heuristics. We're trying to see it as a social science, and we use the ideas of social science to further our education. And I want to share with you some of that. But first, let me say something a little generic about experts. I think experts have these things and experts do those things. We have situational awareness. That's a term I learned while learning to fly an airplane. Situational awareness means I'm maybe focused on this, but I know what's going on around me. I give people testing problems that are designed to help them fail if they don't have situational awareness. If they don't ask questions like, hey, what kind of equipment do I have to solve this problem with? They don't ask that question, they never find out. There's a room full of equipment right next to them they could use to help solve the problem. Instead, they just assume that, oh, I can only solve it with my bare hands and my naked eye. That's all I have to solve this testing problem. Poor little me. And I try to evaluate when I'm interviewing testers, when I'm training testers, their situational awareness by looking at the kinds of questions they ask me to probe the situation around them. What kind of project situation are we in? How much time do we have? Who's involved? Who's on the test team? What kind of deliverable does it have to be? Who's our customer? What information do I have on my desk right now about this problem? What information is available via the various electronic mechanisms? Situational awareness is where you know how to ask those questions. And most testers I train have pretty bad situational awareness. Work on that.